What's up, y'all? This is Hammer here again, back with a video. And today I'm going to be talking about AI girlfriends. Now, before I even begin the video, let me just go ahead and say this, okay? Before this whole AI girlfriend thing was a thing, I remember when I was in the black manosphere. I'm not in the black manosphere now, but in my old manosphere days, I talked about how, based on how technology is progressing, based on how, the laws are, based on how a lot of young men are growing up in a situation in which they don't have the power of the men before them, but they have the responsibilities. I said that what you will start to see is that a growing number of men, especially young boys, are going to gravitate towards what I call the artificial wife. Now, my sort of belief was that it will begin as sort of like a soft robot type of thing, like a female robot, but then slowly it will make its way to becoming a full like carbon based human female that a man can have created for him to be perfect wife, right? The artificially human based female, almost like an Android 18. Think of like Android 18 with Dragon Ball Z, right? Like they'll be able to purchase Android 18s essentially. And when I said this, folks were like, "Oh, Hammond, what are you talking about? That'll never happen, right? Dudes will never go for that." And what has happened is that recently there has been a growing number of companies that have come out and they have said, "Oh, we are now going to release this thing called AI girlfriends." Essentially, what it is, right, is that these chatbots, right, in which they have certain personalities. And what you can do is you can download the apps and you can sort of create your dream girlfriend, right? Have the hair, the race, the eye color, everything, right? Now, on the surface of it, you would think to yourself, well, there's no way guys would do this. Well, actually, they are. There is a lot, and I mean a lot of young boys, a lot of young men, 18, 20, 21, who are going and downloading and creating their own specialized AI girlfriends, right? And this, of course, has gotten so big that a lot of people have made articles about it saying, "Oh my God, this is crazy. Young men are in danger." There's even this article of, I think this is women talking about, we can't compete with AI girlfriends. This is, men trying to replace women. Look, here's what ladies need to understand, right? The reason why these young boys, and why it's going to get worse, is because for a lot of men, right? Like I said for my earlier video, many young men feel like the society, and that includes me too, the society they live in now is in a contradiction. On one hand, they are required to still uphold the gender roles of men. They're required to still uphold the same responsibilities of men, but they don't have the same power, the traditional power that men have. While simultaneously, when we look at women, women no longer have to uphold the same gender rules as the women before them. Women don't have the same responsibilities, but they have the power. So it's sort of this imbalance where the women have the power without the responsibility, and the men have the responsibility without the power. And I said, look, eventually dudes will get tired of that, and they will just go in to check out. And so what's happened is that a lot of guys have become so just like they have withdrawn themselves, and they have become so just apathetic about a society that they're just saying, "Man, I would rather deal with this artificial avatar of a female than actually go out here and date." Now, anyone who saw the signs saw what's coming, right? The growing number of guys who were, growing number of guys who were saying MGTOW, growing number of guys who were going to the manosphere, growing number of guys who were going to red pill, growing number of guys who were saying that I'm not getting married, growing number of guys who were playing video games, right? And all of this, was a sign that men were just checking out of society. And so obviously, this just came at the perfect time. Now, what do I think is going to happen? What I think is going to happen is that, a lot of young men, like they already are, going to gravitate to this. And I feel like, right now, it's people talking about it, but as time goes on, I will say, let's say by 2020, 2030, per se, it's gonna get serious to a point in which you're gonna start seeing lawmakers talking about, "Hey, yo, Men are checking out. Dudes are out here with AI girlfriends. Dudes are not even dating, not even pursuing. You're gonna start seeing women writing articles talking about where are the men. Like, it's already happening. Like, just recently, I was going through internet, right? You already have articles talking about, why aren't men pursuing? Where are the men? Why? It's already happening. Because the reality of the conversation is that fundamentally is the men who build and maintain the infrastructure of society. And the only way you can have a situation in which the women have power to vote of responsibility, the vote of responsibility, is if the men have the responsibility and they maintain society. But if men refuse to carry the responsibility of building and maintaining society, building and maintaining the infrastructure, the responsibility has to fall to someone. And if the women are not able to carry it, it falls apart. And so that's the reason why, as you're seeing men check out, you're seeing the effects, right? Whether it's dudes not going to college as much, dudes not proposing as much, less and less men pursuing. And this is going to have look, you have to understand that for a lot of women, right, they have essentially two safety nets, right? One, they have the, capitalism, which allows them to be independent and gather money on their own. And also they have three, right? They actually have three options, right? One, capitalism allows them to garner resources and make money on their own. Two, the state will subsidize them. And three, if all else fails, they can always go to a man to be the husband, be the boyfriend. All those three things are going away. One, like I said in my previous video about capitalism, right? Capitalism is slowly now moving away from the West towards the rest of the world. So as time goes on, the West, the economy in the West is going to decline. So it's going to become harder and harder and harder for women to garner resources in the West. Two, as the economy declines, that means that it's going to be much more difficult for the state to be able to gather the resources to subsidize the women. And three, as the men walk away, they're not going to be able to go there and have the men build them out. So it's getting bad. But that's just the AI girlfriend thing. That's just the dudes walking away. I haven't even started talking about the artificial wife, because I believe this won't stop here. It's going to advance in which we're going to get to a point where dudes will be able to have an Android 18, right? A real humanoid woman that they can design, create, and order, and will be delivered to the door, and that will do everything they want to do. Now, somebody will say, well, wouldn't they also have a human, like Android 17, a humanoid male? Yeah, they will, but here's the fundamental difference. The same way money doesn't work the same for men and women, this is not going to work the same for men and women, right? Women having money doesn't mean that they want to be the breadwinners. Women having money doesn't mean that they are going to turn down the man paying for the bills, right? And so it is very difficult to believe that the same women who call dudes dusty, who don't want to pay and provide for them, are all of a sudden going to willfully go out of the way to financially support an Android 17. That's not going to happen, right? Even now with the AI girlfriend thing, the AI boyfriends, but that's not really a thing. It's mostly, but it's so full, right? Men and women, look for different things in each other. When men look at women, right, they want someone who's submissive, who's compliant, who's going to play a role. That's it. So they have no problem, providing and protecting. Women, however, when they look at men, they want someone who's providing, someone who can protect. Yeah, the looks, everything and all, but like I said before, you can be a good-looking dude, but if you're broke and she's paying for everything, she will end up resenting you and calling you broke and dusty. So that's the reason why it doesn't work the same way. Because once again, the artificial, quote-unquote, boyfriend, right, requires her to essentially take on the provider role. She has to provide for this boyfriend. If she won't do that for a biological male, she's not going to do that for a boyfriend. And most of them are not going to do that. And that's on top of the fact that with the way the economy is going to decline, with the way the state is going to with the way the economy is going to decline, with the way the state is going to start cutting back on social welfare, all of these things will just make it harder for them to garner resources anyway. And so the few amount of resources they do have, they're not going to throw it on an artificial husband or an AI boyfriend. Especially because of the fact, once again, as a woman, naturally, they cannot respect, an AI boyfriend, an AI artificial husband, if that man or if that artificial man or that artificial boyfriend cannot provide for her. The same way she'll resent the dude who's on her couch for not making any money, she'll end up resenting the AI boyfriend over time because, it's just a thing that she's paying for. That's the reason why it doesn't work the same way. See, men can genuinely love and appreciate an artificial wife and genuinely do this with a once again, as long as it's, submitting, playing his role, has a proper providing. For the women, though, they cannot, on average, most of them, get with an AI boyfriend or AI husband in any system because once again, they're going to have to take the providing role. And they're not going to want to do that. And for all the women who will say, well, they could just have AI husbands or artificial husbands who are, AI boyfriends, artificial husbands who are going to make money, that's never going to happen. There's literally no reason for a company to go out here and produce an artificial husband that they're going to pay to work. If they're going to create an artificial husband, it's going to be as a companion. I mean, that you're going to have to provide a role, and so forth. If women wanted to provide a role for biological men, they're not going to do for artificial husbands, right? So that's just where it's going, and that's just the future. But it gets worse because even after the artificial wife comes out, then you have the artificial womb. So not only are we going to get to a point in which men are going to be able to sort of order an Android 18. But we're going to get to a point in which men are going to be able to literally order an artificial child from an artificial womb direct to the door. We will be able to do the same thing too, but once again, it's not going to be the same thing. Because once again, traditionally, women have used childbirth as a way to garner resources from men in the state. So I'm going to give you an example. If a woman can get pregnant today, right, she can use that to get money from the man and from the state. If we enter the age of the artificial womb where the state can create a child on its own and doesn't need a woman anymore, she can't use a child to garner resources anymore. She can't use a child to extract wealth from a man or extract wealth from the state. The state will be able to produce the children it wants on its own without any input from the women, and the men will be able to get the children they want without any input from the women at all. So the same way capitalism and industrialization essentially transformed the society in a way in which it freed women from having to rely on men for survival, the new technological way is now going to free men where they'll no longer have to rely on women for survival. And in many ways, free the state. The state and the society will no longer have to rely on women for survival. Men will be able to order Android 18s, right, the artificial wife like Android 18s, and men will be able to essentially order, designer babies from the artificial womb. And when it comes to the state will no longer have to dish out resources to support women because they need childbirth or children. The state will now be able, all the money the state would have sent towards women to incentivize them to give birth, they can just use that money to create the kids on their own. And we enter an age in which, for the first time in human history, women are no longer needed women are no longer needed to reproduce. But we enter the first time in human history in which women are no longer needed to reproduce by the men and by the state. And second of all, women are no longer able to use their wombs as a way to extract resources from the men and the state. So that's where I see things going. And ladies, this whole transgender thing, that's part of it too. A lot of that trans stuff is also a way to kind of, blur the gender lines, right? Erase the differences between sex, right? Look at us saying, once again, look, with the artificial womb, if you're a man, right, and an artificial womb is implanted within your body, you can have a kid that way. So all of that stuff really, in many ways, right, although it's not necessary, it's really just another way to kind of, it's a way to kind of, showcase or show you what's coming. The world is different, right? And it's so funny because, like before, when capitalism came along, women were free. Women could now gather resources by themselves. Women no longer had to rely on men for survival. And now technology has come back once more, and it is now freeing men. If I personally believe that has been the issue. The issue is that the agrarian age required men and women to rely on each other. So women need to rely on men for survival, and men need to rely on women for reproduction. So that's why there was balance. Industrialization caused imbalance because women no longer have to rely on men for survival, but men still have to rely on women for childbirth. So that's where the imbalance came from. I think now vision technology will I guess balance things out where women no longer have to rely on men for survival, but men no longer have to rely on women to birth their children and to reproduce and all that kind of stuff, right? And the state no longer has to rely on women, of course, as well too. And of course, I believe that in the end, this is gonna hurt women the most. Because once again, if they are no longer needed for reproduction, and if they're no longer needed for companionship, that also means that they will be allowed to fall through the cracks. They will be allowed to be held to the same standard, if not treated exactly like men. And most importantly, they will no longer be able to use their wombs as a way to extract resources and wealth from the state and from the men around them. But with that being said, I'm going to leave it there. That's why I see, that's my opinion on the AI girlfriend and what I think is going to happen in the future. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. Hammer out.